Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, from pavement to playground, a key change that may help transform this San Diego Parkway into green space.
Brown lawns, dirty cars, and tougher water rules in San Diego. I'm Kenny Goldberg. The experts weigh in on the city's conservation efforts, plus saving pets in San Diego County, the pact made by shelters to avoid euthanizing dogs and cats, and why critics say the new policy may hurt shelters and animals.
You know, the street ain't like that. How you know a neighbor likes to move in, you don't have no housewarming party. He might be moving so I can see what I got.
Homeless camps growing in Southern California as LA's mayor plans to block new rules to take them down. A closer look at why more people are living on the street. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Dwayne Brown is off. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It's working. State water officials say despite the rain, the month of May was the best month to date for cutting back on water use across California. Things may be looking up for San Diego and other cities that were running dry. Hope from state regulators today as California cities hit a new record for water conservation. The latest report from the State Water Resources Control Board shows cities cut water use by 29% last month. Regulators credit Governor Jerry Brown's executive order last April, forcing communities to cut water use by 25%. All regions around California showed improvement, including San Diego. The city reduced its water consumption by 26%. This was in the middle of an unusually rainy May. According to the Water Board, San Diego posted the best performance by a large urban area in the state. The Santa Fe Irrigation District also improved for water savings. The district came under fire for high water use in affluent communities of Rancho Santa Fe and Solana Beach. The district saw a 42% reduction last month. The city of Poway and Rincon del Diablo also saw cuts by more than 40%. Water experts say conservation numbers may have been skewed by rain in parts of the state. This reduces the need to water lawns. They hope the water savings will last through the summer. And if you have been wanting to replace your lawn with turf, you'll be happy to know San Diego's turf replacement program will resume today with the beginning of the new fiscal year. There is $1.2 million available for residents who remove their lawn and put in drought-tolerant landscaping. Information about the rebate program is available at wastenowater.org. San Diego is also tightening rules on water use. We first told you about tougher restrictions on when people can water their yards. But can San Diego do even more? Kenny Goldberg takes a closer look.
The new rules further restrict the number of days San Diegans can water per week and the amount of time they can water. Joining me to discuss the new rules are Hala Razak, Director of the City of San Diego's Public Utilities Department, and Travis Pritchard, Programs Director of San Diego Coastkeeper. Welcome to you both. Hala, let's start with you. Why do we need tougher restrictions on water?
It is really important for the City of San Diego and its residents and businesses to make sure that we can drop our water use by 16% because the governor's executive order's mandate is for us to do so. And lowering how much water we use for irrigation is what will get us there.
Now, you said 16%.
16,
how
yes.
close are we to that?
Well, it really depends from one month to the other. We've been tracking very closely our water use, and I would say about 2 or 3 months ago, we were in really bad territory. As a matter of fact, in February, our water use was 8% higher than it was back in 2013, which really got us concerned. And by looking at all the tools that we have to make sure that our water use comes down, we had decided that bringing, not just within the city of San Diego, but regionally as well, the San Diego Water Authority has made that a requirement as well. So throughout the region, most of the agencies already went to the 2 times a week watering.
Now, some people are complaining that their gardens are already deteriorating. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say that hang in there. I fully understand and appreciate that this is really a difficult time, but we're also dealing with very unusual and difficult circumstances. This is a very severe drought. It's the most severe drought that we had for over 100 years. And we are within the industry praying for rain for next year, but we could be in a situation where we would have yet another year of drought. And we need to make sure that we are protecting our water supplies so that we could continue and weather this drought.
Travis, let's turn to you. How satisfied are you with what San Diego is doing to combat this drought?
So the new requirements that were set forth on Monday for the city are a good first step. You know, I want to disagree a little bit with what Hala said and how unusual and new the circumstances. You know, California has been in drought conditions for 11 of the past 15 years. So really, the drought conditions are the normal, and the wet years are the unusual years coming here. So, you know, we want to take this opportunity in this drought to really rethink how, as San Diego, our region, how we deal with our landscaping and our water use. You know, about the peoples whose yards are deteriorating, you know, that's because we're planting things that don't really belong in this climate. You know, San Diego is one of the most biodiverse counties in the United States, and it's time for us to really embrace that biodiversity and that natural beauty and reclaim what it is to be in San Diego and our sense of place.
Travis, what's the one thing that you would change with what San Diego's doing to help conserve water even more?
Well, I would like to see a outright restriction on new front lawns. You know, really, if you think about your neighborhood, when is the last time you saw someone really hanging out on their front yard? You know, nobody barbecues there, your kids don't really play there. You know, and that really could be, we can reclaim our park space as our, you know, when we need a lawn and we need somewhere to go, and really in our homes, really, like I said, embrace that San Diego beauty that we have here.
Hala, lastly, it's one thing to have new restrictions, it's another thing to enforce them. What about enforcement? How will that work?
So currently within the department, we have 17 individuals who are responding to water use complaints, as well as driving around and watching to see if there are any violations of restrictions. Since the beginning of November, we have issued over 3,000 warnings and have issued 114 citations.
And what is the fine that you can impose on somebody?
It really depends what the infraction is. We have issued some fines that are about $250. So the fines go $100, $150, depending on what the infraction is.
Okay. Hey, I wanted to thank our guest today, Hala Razek, Director of the City of San Diego's Public Utilities Department, and Travis Pritchard, San Diego Coastkeepers Programs Director. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our coverage on California's drought emergency continues on our website. You can find Running Dry at kpbs.org/drought. A new contract to raise San Diego police officers' take-home pay goes into effect today. Officials hope the financial boost will attract new cops to the agency and stem the flow of officers leaving. A new report shows the department has 160 fewer officers on staff than what it budgeted for, but officials say the recruitment situation is slightly improving. The campaign to change the rules for fighting traffic fines is making progress in Sacramento. Earlier this month, a state court banned county courts from forcing people to pay fines before they could contest their tickets. Supporters say motorists should not be required to pay court fees before seeing a judge. They introduced a new bill that would make that policy clear. The measure may influence drivers who fail to appear in court. It now heads to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. The San Diego City Council has cleared the way for another park in San Diego's dense mid-city area. KPBS reporter Megan Burke says the vote means a 4-lane street could one day go from pavement to playground.
Every day, some 6,400 motorists rattle down Choyas Parkway between 54th Street and University Avenue in the City Heights area. To the north are a few small industrial lots, and to the south is a creek. This week, the City Council approved zoning changes that would allow parkland there instead. Members of the planning group say it's sorely needed. The neighborhood has just 13% of the park space recommended for its population. The city would carve out an alternative route for motorists by extending Leah Avenue. The zoning changes also clear the way for a mixed-use village nearby along University Avenue. The strip mall there long sat vacant before the current grocery and department stores came in. The community says it hopes to work with the retailers. Now, both of these projects still need funding. The city says it's aggressively seeking grants to get started on the park. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
President Obama announced today that the U.S. and Cuba will reopen their embassies in Havana and Washington in what is being called a new chapter to the previously hostile relationship between the two nations.
As part of that effort, President Raul Castro and I directed our teams to negotiate the reestablishment of embassies. Since then, our State Department has worked hard with their Cuban counterparts to achieve that goal. And later this summer, Secretary Kerry will travel to Havana formally to proudly raise the American flag over our embassy once more.
The president reiterated his call for Congress to lift the embargo, which he said has failed to bring political change in Cuba. John Kerry is currently in Vienna for nuclear talks with Iran. He called the embassy agreement long overdue. A government investigation is underway to determine whether airlines are intentionally slowing growth to command higher airfares. After a series of mergers in 2008, several airlines now control 80% of the seats in U.S. skies. They have filled more seats on planes and eliminated flights that don't turn enough profit. The Justice Department confirmed the investigation today to determine what they are calling unlawful coordination among some airlines. And there are new calls to change homeless camp rules in Los Angeles. Mayor Eric Garcetti says he will block enforcement of new measures adopted by the city council. He wants council members to soften some provisions in the new ordinance. The council voted last week to trim the notice time from 36 to 24 hours before removing personal belongings from sidewalks and parks. The number of homeless people in LA County has grown in the last 2 years. Marketplace reporter Jeff Tyler takes a look at why this is happening and who are the people behind this statistic.
We're out here covering the growth in homelessness. There is about 12% more homeless people on the streets of Los Angeles compared to a couple of years ago.
We're out here talking to people about the lack of affordable housing out here. Mind if we ask you some questions?
Sure. That's Broke Street Island. This is Broke Street Church. And that's Broke Village, I guess.
I found some very young people who have been living outside for a couple years. On the other end of the spectrum, I've met a number of older men, and a lot of their situation is economic, that they lost a job during the economic downturn, and they are not nearly as employable anymore when they're 45 to late 50s, and yet they don't yet qualify for Social Security.
This is my first time being homeless. I have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls, and we just lost our home maybe about a month ago. Some people been here for 2 years.
Homelessness is the perfect storm. There's a lot of reasons why there are people on the streets. Yes, people are coming out of the jail system, but also they're coming out of armed services, foster care, mental health. There used to be people who were going into shelters and transitional housing, but there's less shelter and less transitional housing than even a few years ago. So now people are ending up on the streets.
So today we're going out with the street outreach team in Hollywood and in Silver Lake, and we're going to look at some encampments. We're offering services to them, shelter, linkages to mental health, health services. We're taking out some lunches today. We'll be handing those out. That's a tool that we use so we can get them to talk to us and make them feel a little bit safer, offering them something.
I've been in this spot for years. So when I first started working on the story, this is one of the places that stood out to me as epitomizing what's going on in the city right now. You'll see that he's got sofas set up, he's got a table, he's got some of his paintings and stuff hanging on the walls as if it were his living room. And his living room is literally in the underpass for the 101 freeway. Are you seeing homeless encampments in places that they didn't used to have encampments?
We are. We're seeing them under underpasses, sides of freeways. We're seeing them tucked up into the hills. We're also seeing them come down into neighborhoods and be more on the streets, kind of inclusive in a community.
And what's your understanding of why that change is occurring?
I think our numbers are going up in terms of the homeless population. There's also not enough affordable, low-income, permanent supportive housing. So I think until we come into a balance of having enough available real estate for them to move into, we're going to have this issue.
It was just me over here a week ago, and then that happened.
You don't seem thrilled.
No.
I've met people who would say, well, I've been living in the same spot for 2 years, but they didn't used to have neighbors. And so instead of just having one person under the overpass, you now have a row of 15 or 20 tents next to each other.
A lot of good people on the street, but everybody on the street ain't cool. Until I get to know them, what they're about. You know, the street ain't like that. How you know a neighbor from nice to move in? You don't have no housewarming party. He might be moving so I can see what I got. Then when I'm gone, he steal my stuff. I don't know. You know, it's not easy out here.
What's it like living out here?
For me, it's a blessing. I praise God every day. When people ask me how I'm doing, I'm not in hell, I'm not in jail, I'm not in the hospital. Best shot, baby!
There are some people who would just prefer to be on the streets. There is a subculture that some people like. There are also people who have substance abuse problems, and you know, it's easier to spend your money on drugs instead of housing, and for the time being, some people prefer that. And so are you happy with this lifestyle for now, or would you rather get off the streets?
I'm content with it right now. I started doing heroin again, and, you know, I don't want to die. I don't want to overdose. I don't, you know, I do just a little bit, because that's a drug. If you do too much, it might be the last time.
And so do you have a goal of getting off the street, or not even thinking about that right now?
I'm not thinking about that.
There is a stereotype among people that anybody living on the streets either has a drug or alcohol problem or a mental challenge. Are you finding people that don't have those problems and it's purely economic?
Absolutely. We are finding those people. They've just lost their job. They've not graduated from school. Something in their life has happened. So there are things that are impacting them that would not be a mental health issue or a substance issue.
I think homelessness is not just a social problem, it's a poverty problem. And until this country addresses poverty, we're going to always have homelessness.
All right, Birdman, you take care.
We don't want to have the hidden homeless anymore, where they're up in the hills and we just don't see them and we turn a blind eye to them. There's an absolute potential for us as a community to be engaged in this issue. It is a community issue. It's not a social service issue. It's not a law enforcement issue. This is a community issue.
It's heartbreaking sometimes. And, you know, we'll be walking down the street. She'll say something to someone, ask them for the time or something. And they won't even, it's like we're not even there. You know, you see these people walking around in a daze. It's because people have ignored them so long and treated them like they were invisible that now they think they're invisible. I mean, it ain't that they think they are, you know?
Hello, is anybody home?
San Diego animal shelters banding together on Save a Pet Day. They are calling on residents to help by adopting a pet and to those with pets to spay and neuter. They hope their message will help save lives and prevent the suffering of animals.
Each day is going to be a challenge. This is not going to be easy. It's 0 today. We want it 0 tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And for that, it's going to be a battle, a challenge every day. And we're going to need everybody's help.
Also today, a new policy announced by the San Diego Animal Coalition. Shelters will not euthanize any healthy or treatable animal. Peggy Pico takes a look at the new plan and how it works.
Each year, 45,000 animals enter a San Diego shelter. As of today, 11 shelters in the San Diego Animal Welfare Coalition agreed to participate in a no-kill program called Getting to Zero. But some animal welfare groups oppose the plan. Veterinarian Gary Weitzman, president and CEO of the San Diego Humane Society, joins me with details about this new program. And Dr. Weitzman, how many animals are currently euthanized in the system?
Well, we actually categorize animals as healthy, treatable, or unhealthy. So For the entire coalition of San Diego, we are looking at about 2,700 animals that we think don't need to be euthanized because we can treat them, we can manage their illnesses, they have a chance for a very good quality of life, and those are the animals that today we're going to start saving.
And some animal shelters, some of the animals there at the shelter, as you mentioned, will still be euthanized. So what's the criteria there under this program?
Yeah, and that's a really difficult thing. You know, when we use the term getting to zero, we use it because we specifically do not like the term no-kill, because no-kill is misleading, and it sets apart shelters that may not have the resources that we do in San Diego. So for us, the getting to zero refers to really those animals who are healthy and who are treatable and who can actually get into homes. But there's a small percentage of animals that are either too unhealthy to be placed or too aggressive. So that's why there will never be no euthanasia. But what we're hoping now is to save every adoptable animal.
And PETA and a couple of other animal welfare groups, they are opposed to this idea, this no-kill idea or getting to zero program, because they say that it can cause overcrowding and possibly diminish care in the shelters. So how do you handle overpopulation then? Yeah,
that's a really good question. Actually, PETA, I think, is certainly very happy about saving as many lives as possible. But what they want is those lives to be quality lives. Here in San Diego, we're really lucky. We're a very progressive community. We have a 24-hour kitten nursery. We have programs like a behavior center to take animals that may be too aggressive initially or too shut down to get into homes to actually make them into good home family members. So for us in San Diego, where it's very sophisticated in our animal care, the worries that PETA and other groups that may be concerned about this don't happen here and won't happen. We're not going to build sanctuaries so that we can keep animals for their entire lives in misery. What we're going to do is to support people to have a wonderful relationship with their pets and to support those animals that have a really good chance of getting into homes.
Ray, will any animals be turned away under this policy?
We don't. It depends. Now, the coalition, you said 11 shelters, which is true, but it's 7 organizations. For instance, San Diego Humane has 3 or 4 shelters. County Animal Services has 3 shelters. So of our 7 groups, what we're going to make sure that happens is that no animal will be turned away if it can be relocated to one of the other coalition members. So if Chula Vista calls me at San Diego Humane and says they have a herd of cats, which happens this time of year, they may not have room, but we will. So we will take those cats. So we're going to make sure this is the safest place to be a pet.
And what are the adoption rates right now at the San Diego Humane Society?
That's the hardest question you can ask me. We do promotions all the time to get people's attention and to make it really interesting and fun to come in to adopt. So every other week there's a promotion, but really it's really to get those animals home. And through those promotions, we've actually doubled our adoption rate.
I was going to say, are you going to ramp that up as far as education and outreach because of this new getting to zero? What is the shelter going to do here? What is your shelter going to do to accommodate more animals if you're going to be keeping them?
Right. We're looking at our length of stay on those animals, and we're looking at lots and lots and lots more fosters. So if there's anything I could ask the public to do, if you have a week or 2 weeks, help us by fostering an animal in need. That frees up more space in the shelter, and it really makes it a community effort to save these lives.
Are you going to hire more staff, build more housing?
Well, we probably not, because what we're hoping is that the numbers of animals will go down each year. So we don't want to build more housing. We want to be more efficient users of the housing that we've got. What we're really doing, this answers your question, is we are together making sure that among our 7 shelters, we have room for every animal in need. And when we don't have room, we're going to ask a partner shelter here to take that animal from us. And that's the whole way this is going to work.
How is this program being funded?
Oh, it's all private donations. It really is. We have some city contracts through our different cities, but mostly it's private donations.
All right, veterinarian Gary Weitzman, thank you so much.
Thanks. All good talking to you.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour, exploring the mysteries of Ceres, a dwarf planet that hangs out in the asteroid belt. That's Wednesday on the PBS NewsHour.
This just into our newsroom. Episcopalians have voted to allow religious weddings for same-sex couples. This comes just days after the Supreme Court legalized gay marriage nationwide. The vote came today at the denomination's National Assembly in Salt Lake City. The church of nearly 2 million members is known for electing the first openly gay Episcopal bishop in 2003. The state's top educator is in town. He's here to help in the fight against childhood obesity. KPBS reporter Matt Bowler has more from the 8th Childhood Obesity Conference.
They're dancing, but they're serious. More than 2,000 healthcare workers, educators, and government officials are in San Diego trying to figure out how to beat childhood obesity. State Superintendent Tom Torlakson says not being able to eat right in the summer and not being physically active makes kids unhealthy.
The lunch during the summer and the lunch they have during the school year 5 days a week, that's where they get their major source of nutrients. The good news is the emphasis on nutrition, the emphasis on exercise and nutrition together is making a difference.
Torlakson says there's a direct relationship between being healthy and doing well in school. And it can be fun, too. Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
And finally, drying out in San Diego. We have cloudy skies by the coast with 70s, a little warmer inland with 80s and 70s, sunny in the mountains with 80s, and it's feeling hot in the desert with triple digits. And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Coming up on Morning Edition, when rain falls in an urban coastal area, the vast majority of it runs into storm drains and off to the sea. We'll take a look at what may be California's next big untapped water supply. That's on KPBS Radio. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.